Hello and welcome. Happy Wednesday to everyone. First and foremost, I am so sorry. We're a little late today. We had some technical difficulties, but we're here. That's the most important thing. And further proof that no matter what is thrown at you, you find a solution and you move on. Um, First and foremost, thank you so much last week to Ken, who joined the show and told us about his story. We have another exciting guest this week. Her name is Sarah. She had the gastric bypass back in 2019, and her story is pretty interesting. She was one of the rare few that got pregnant a couple months afterwards. So we're going to hear all about her story, what that was like. So Sarah, I hope you're ready because we are about to get unzipped. Hello, and welcome.
Hey, totally. No, listen, I just have to say, totally my fault. That's my fault. I was having technical difficulties. Sherry was not. So I apologize for everybody just joining. That was totally on me.
I didn't want to throw you under the bus. It's a collective technical difficulty issue, of course.
It's okay. It's okay.
The important thing is that you're here now. And how are you today?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm better now. We're doing good now. Like, we're excited.
Oh, man. Yes. I am excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, absolutely. And you and I have become friends over the last couple months or so. And I've been watching your TikToks, and they're so amazing and adorable. And I just love the enthusiasm and the energy. It is so infectious. So the fact that you're coming on to my little tiny show right now, like, I greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Yes. Yes.
So I kind of wanted to start off a little bit. I know Sarah's story, but you guys listening at home or watching, you guys don't know anything about her. So I thought Sarah can kind of give us a little backstory on what it was like before the bypass and how did we get to the decision to have surgery?
That's a great question. So I've been overweight all my life, since literally the age of inception, probably. But definitely, as far back as kindergarten that I can remember, I was just always overweight, always struggling. There was never a time that I wasn't weight conscious. And so through my years of middle school, childhood, high school, always overweight. In fact, when I was about 14, now looking back, I found records from when I was actually like going to the doctor and things. And I was 275 pounds at 14 years old.
Wow.
My highest weight was 325 pounds. And so that's something that, you definitely don't ever process fully. Like, is that really, that can't be right. Like, that scale has to be lying. But I've battled weight my entire life, and it's always been the one thing that I could never beat. Like, I could never get it. Like, how do you lose weight? I would lose weight, lose 50 pounds, gain it back, lose 50 pounds, gain it back. And I always felt like I would get to that 275-pound mark, and then that was it. That was like my plateau, my window. And I would go for years, I went from 325 to 275 to 325 to 275. And so that was something that I always struggled with. Now, I will say the one thing that really, I don't know if it like helped or anything, but my mom always encouraged me to have the surgery. And I actually went through a process where I was going to have it. Then the doctor stopped doing the procedure. And so I was like, oh, that's a surefire way to know that I shouldn't be doing it. It was just a cop out, really. But I don't think I was really ready at that time. I was in my early 20s. And so I was like, oh, the fact that I like could never have a Diet Coke again or a cheeseburger, like, you just have those mental, it's all mental. Um,
100%.
but I got to the point where I felt like I was stuck in a fat suit. And I know that you and I have talked about it because that's part of like your book that's Unzipped. And so I just continued to feel like that. And there was times in my life that I was just like, there has to be more than this. Like I'm exhausted all the time. I'm not living life. I'm self-conscious. I'm confident, but not confident. You have that big girl personality to
Yep.
compensate for the pretty girl with their, what is it? The girl with the pretty face,
Mm-hmm.
just things like that. And so I came to a point in my life where I wanted something different. And I was like, you know what? I have to focus on me and do what's right for my health. Both of my parents have heart issues, diabetes that runs in my family, type 2 and type 1. Just a lot of, I have PCOS. So that, really is an indicator of, I actually wasn't diagnosed with PCOS until I had my first child. And I struggled with PCOS literally my entire life, but just didn't know what it was until then. So ultimately, the decision that was made for me is it was solely for me. Like I wanted to be alive for my children.
Yeah.
At that point, I had one. I wanted to be involved. I didn't want to be the fat mom. There were so many things that went in, but ultimately, I felt like I wasn't even who I was meant to be because of my weight. I felt like I was stuck in the fat suit.
Yeah.
And once I decided, all right, I'm going to do it, I researched a little bit more. I found a place that my mom had been suggesting that was in the area, and I went for it. And I didn't look back. I followed everything to the T, and I was able to, within 1 year, and also pregnant, was able
That,
to,
don't worry.
I was able to lose 167 pounds. I have had a little bit of regain. However, I've been able to maintain for the most part, like, you fluctuate within 10, 15 pounds. And so just based on, retaining water and things like that, but I've been able to keep it off for 3 years now. July 1st of this year will actually be 3 years for me.
Your sleeve anniversary is coming up. That's
It
exciting.
is.
Oh my God.
Yes, I'm excited. So absolutely. But yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just saying that just like brings to light too, like because I know what we're going to be getting into later and where you are today, and to think that all of this has happened in just under a 3 year span, like how much you've progressed forward
Yeah.
is so remarkable. And like we're going to get into all that too, so don't you guys worry, it's not just an inside joke or anything. Um, but I remember when I first met you and we were talking, and I know that when you have the surgery, if you're a woman, men don't have to worry about it. But they tell you that once you've had the surgery, you should wait at least 18 months to 2 years before you try to have kids or get pregnant, because it takes a while for your body to adjust and heal, and there's a lot of trauma going on. So Sarah was like, that doesn't sound like me. And well, it was 2 months later. You had surgery, and then 2 months later, you got pregnant.
Yeah. Apparently, I was out living my best life.
You were definitely living your best life.
So yeah, I July 1st of 2019, I had surgery. And I was losing a significant amount of weight. I should have known because when I had my first son, I lost 50 pounds and got pregnant like that.
Really?
So I had lost a significant amount of weight within the first 2 months. I found out I was pregnant. And just to put this into perspective, I have a 2-year-old that turned 2 in April. I mean, he was born 6 months or 6 weeks early. But yeah, so 2 weeks in that September, good old day in September, I fell to my knees and realized I was pregnant. But with that being said, I definitely, one of the biggest things was like, I felt like, man, I really screwed this up. I'm not going to be able to be successful. And so anybody that's out there that is pregnant and, you don't plan on it. You're not like, yeah, I'm going to go screw everything up. But just know that you can do it. I partnered with my dietitian and my surgeon right away, and I called them probably too soon, But within the first 24 hours,
You're like,
I just panicked. I panicked. I'm not even gonna lie. I panicked and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? But I called them and they got me with the dietitian. They said, hey, this is more common than you think. It is okay. I was like, I am so sorry. Like, I just was like, I'm so sorry.
you're like, apologize. Like, I'm sorry I got knocked up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so sorry, and I didn't even know where to start, right? And so they said, hey, just continue on your path. I had just started solids at
Oh,
that point. I think I was in soft foods, so eggs, yogurt, things like that. I just continued to try to eat whatever I could and digest, just how you do in that phase.
right.
And same, I didn't, nothing changed for me, right? I just acted as, okay, this is what I need to do. My OB and I talked really in depth with it, and any labs that I had done at this appointment, I faxed to this doctor and vice versa. So we were always working together. Again, I didn't miss any of my appointments with either doctors. I made sure that you become high risk just automatically in pregnancy because you've had the weight loss surgery, no matter what surgery you've had. And that was one of the things. They just monitored extra to make sure the baby was growing at the rate that he should, and he was. Me going into preterm labor wasn't directly related to weight loss surgery. However, it is I guess it may have been directly related, right? Because it does, when you have weight loss surgery, it puts you in a category that you can have preterm labor with that. And
Right.
so that was something we were aware of, but I just had a feeling that it was going to happen. And it did a little bit sooner than I thought, but he was born 6 weeks early. I didn't have any, I had complication of that. My heart rate was extremely low during labor. So my heart rate was actually a resting heart rate of 41. And when I was in active labor, which is a concern, but the main thing after I found out was that I'm so healthy that was part of the reason why. They did a whole bunch of testing within the next 48 hours after that and did not find anything that was concerning. So they're like, hey, I guess just keep doing what you're doing. They couldn't really explain that, but we're both healthy and happy, and I've been able to maintain the weight loss from that point. It kind of felt like after I had surgery that I had went through surgery all over again, because my body was then actually healing from the pregnancy, the labor. But
Right.
also, like, my eating went back down to like barely anything. When I was pregnant, I had times where I could eat more and I was like, oh gosh, am I losing my restriction? And then some days I could barely eat. So if that does happen, if you are pregnant, even after the fact, I've heard that happens where restriction, it's a concern. Like, people feel like, am I losing my restriction? But you're not. It comes back after pregnancy.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I think like the biggest common misconception of people who have the surgery and are a few years out, they always think I've stretched my sleeve, I've stretched my pouch. And when you really break it down, it's no, you're obviously your stomach is a muscle, so it is going to, give and take a little bit, but not to the point where people think.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that your stomach stretches out, it's that you're eating different foods that we call them in the community the slider foods, the potato chips, the sugar, the ones that don't have a lot of dense nutrients in it. So it's sliding through you so you can consume more of it because it breaks down so quickly because there's nothing of nutritional value to go through your system anyway.
Yeah.
Because I know that, like, for me, I was the same thing. I could eat a whole bag of chips like it was nothing, and then like 10 minutes later, I'm still hungry. But to this day, if I eat 4 or 5 bites of a chicken breast, I'm about to keel over. And I was like, it's just the kinds of foods, because over time you get a lot more lax with your diet because you don't have, most people don't have to worry about getting sick every single time. Like, your body will adjust to it.
Yeah.
But question for you. So you're still healing. You find out you're pregnant, you drop to your knees. I'm sure it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for the first couple of days. I can't imagine all of the different thoughts that go in your head. Did I just waste this opportunity for the surgery? Did I now make my health more complicated? Is there going to be complications as a there's so many things that I'm assuming go through your head.
Yeah.
How long did it kind of take you to be like, okay, this is reality. Now we have a game plan and you're kind of more at ease with it?
Whew. Honestly, I don't know if I ever got to that point, to be completely
Really?
honest, right? So I also had complications with B1 deficiency during my pregnancy. So there was a time, was in the first trimester into the second trimester, that the deficiency for B1 was caught because I was like very in space mode. I was extremely exhausted all the time, which I thought was just because, obviously, because I'm pregnant and my body's
Right.
through all this, you know. But I started, like, one of my legs started going numb, like my shin of my left shin started going numb. It was like tingly. I couldn't feel it. I started having issues where, like, at my job, I would know that you were talking to me, but I was like blank. And I was like, I would just be sitting there, and then I would think I was talking to you, but my mouth was not moving. And so it was very odd. And so I ended up like bringing it up to the doctors and saying, hey, like, this is something I'm going through and I don't understand what's happening, but my entire leg is numb, like, just, talking to them about it. And so they ran testing and labs, obviously, on my vitamins. And that's where they found the B1 deficiency. And so
Right.
I had to start taking extra B1. And about a couple weeks after I did that, I started feeling way better. Like, the fog and confusion went away. But that's when I really realized that vitamins are, and having your labs checked, even if you're pregnant or not pregnant. I still do that today. Every 3 to 6 months, I have my labs checked just by my primary care. And I've been able to avoid a lot of issues. Even right now, I'm battling the iron deficiency and being microcystic anemic, which we can talk about after this, right? But I actually have an iron infusion tomorrow, and so one of the things that I realized through the process was communication is key with your doctors if you are pregnant, but communication is also key after any surgery that you have, because in between that, uh, my gastric bypass and today, I've had quite a few different surgeries unrelated to weight loss, but like my right thyroid, I had to get taken out because of a tumor involved, and just things like that. Like, literally, I've had probably about 4 or 5 surgeries since I've become healthy and not pregnant, just based on things I had to address with my body that weren't addressed when I was overweight because I avoided them
Right.
and paid the price for that. But vitamin wise, and then also you asked, like, when did I become okay with the pregnancy and like all of that comes with it? I'm gonna be honest, I was nervous the entire time. I was nervous that the baby wouldn't grow correctly. I was
Right.
nervous that there may be some deformities. I was nervous that I may have complications during labor, which happened. I was nervous that he was going to be preterm labor, which happened. But ultimately, my son is healthy. He is an amazing child when he wants to be. But, huh?
I said, of course.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I don't think I ever got comfortable, but I also think that helped me because I didn't get comfortable and I continued
Right.
to try to push myself and work out, try to continue to eat healthy and not just give up and be like, well, screw that one up. Um,
Yes.
I stayed focused on my goal that no matter what happens, I want to lose weight. I want to be healthy. And it was actually an extra incentive because I have a baby growing inside me that also I have to make sure I take care of during this crucial time of my body healing, but then also expanding it to a point, right? In a different way. So
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think there's excuse me. I think there's a good element of fear involved. And when you're afraid, especially when you're in uncharted territories, like obviously you had been pregnant before, so it wasn't your first rodeo, but this was like a whole different ball game. And
Yes.
there is so much fear, like you said, about potential complications and things that can happen, that I feel like that fear makes you so overly cautious that you're probably more strict than you would have been had this not happened. Like I know, like I joke all the time, I was one of those people. I'm such a lightweight, even at 350 pounds. I was a lightweight when it came to alcohol. I would have the one fruity drink, and I'm like, "Up, oh, this is amazing." And then halfway through the second, I'm like, "Why is everything spinning?" And then I go from 0 to belligerent, and my version of belligerent is you throw up and pass out. So when I threw up in the hospital the first day of my surgery, it was the most intense pain I had ever had. And I hated the idea of throwing up just in general so much from alcohol that when that moment happened, I was like, I'm not doing anything to ever make me have to throw up again. And I'm proud to say that in almost 8 years, I can count on less than 2 hands the amount of times that I have thrown up because of a meal or eating too much, because I was so terrified of that feeling again.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything possible. But an interesting question has come up in listening to you. So I've never been pregnant yet. Maybe this year. We don't know. We'll see. But you've been pregnant before. So women are always talking about the cravings, if you're craving certain foods, and certain foods now make you become nauseous. So when you have the surgery, the hormone that uh, your hunger hormone is often removed. So most people don't have specific cravings. So I'm curious, because you actually have something to compare it to. Like, did you have certain cravings the first time around? Was it different the second time around? Or were there foods? Because I'm going off on a tangent, but like, there's so much I want to know. When you're 2 months out at this point, so
Mm-hmm.
you're still testing the waters with different foods and seeing which is going to hit you good, which is not, which is going to make you nauseous. And you're doing that all while being pregnant and your hormones are crazy. And like, so what was that like?
So that's a good question. My pregnancies before and after surgery have been horrible. My first pregnancy, I threw up literally 2 to 3 times a day.
You're really selling your having kids right now.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll be your form of birth control. But no, I had a very tumultuous pregnancy my first time around. I was always sick. I could eat one thing one day, the next 2 hours later, I could eat the same thing. And it was like, wait, what? So you just never could tell, right? I was sick from the day I was pregnant to the day he was born. And then even after both my pregnancies, I continued to throw up for a few hours after that. So that was in both. However, I would say that, I mean, obviously in my first one, I was also like walking every day. In my first pregnancy, I was walking 1 to 2 miles a day, working out and trying to stay active. I was still overweight, right? But I was doing my best. With this, it was no different. I was still walking a lot, going outside on walks and things like that. So I stayed very active during both of my pregnancies. I would say the cravings. There was, when I was pregnant with my first son, I think I could not eat chicken. I could not look at it. I just couldn't do it. Now, red meat, I normally don't eat, and I loved red meat during my first pregnancy.
Which
during
is because red meat is high in iron.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Now, during my second pregnancy, it was my first one after weight loss surgery, I had trouble getting any protein in. Any protein would sometimes just at the thought make me gag. Like chicken, could not do it. Red meat, barely. Protein shakes, I could do. Yogurt, I could do. I literally did go through a time, though, that I was struggling to just get anything down. And the doctor was like, literally eat whatever you can hold down. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, whatever you can eat, eat it. So the only thing I could eat for about a month straight was Cheez-Its and Mike and Ike's.
What?
Don't know why. Yeah. Didn't have any negative impact. Now I can't do that, right? I don't know what it was during that period, but I just protein like I couldn't do it. I could not do it. And so that was strange for me because I knew I got to get my protein in, but I can't eat protein. And so I tried to, I lived off protein shakes, obviously, for a long time, and just making sure that um, I would put protein in, like, for example, like a yogurt based ranch. There was also a time when I could only, I lived off for like a month or two, um, celery and carrots dipped in a yogurt based ranch, which is healthier. So what I started doing was putting unflavored protein powder in my ranch. And that's how I started getting more protein, was unflavored protein powder. So I would put it in like my coffee or like a drink. I would put it in anything that pudding. If I could mix it in pudding, I would mix it in that Jello. Anything that I could eat and put it in, I started putting it in just to get protein. And
Right.
that's one of the ways that I was able to then start incorporating protein back into my diet.
Interesting. And then because, obviously you're expected to gain weight while you're pregnant, but you just had your stomach lopped off. So, like, you're not able to consume as much. So, during the time that you were pregnant, did you find yourself still losing weight, or were you gaining weight, or were you about the same?
I actually lost the full 167 pounds while I was pregnant.
No shit.
Yeah, I lost in the first year. I lost the 167 pounds, and then I've just been able to. I got to a right after I was born. So let me back up. Right after the baby was born, I was at my goal weight of 180. Um,
Wow.
and the scary part was I got down to 160, which is, it was just very thin. Like everybody was very worried. I was going through some postpartum depression, and things like that. I was in the NICU, and in that first month in the NICU, I lost 30 pounds, and that was where even the nurses were like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And so I actually had to intentionally gain weight back,
And
and
how
that
old are you?
I'm 5'11".
Oh, so 160 would be very thin for you.
Yes. So 160 is very like a size. I went from a size 24 to, at that point I was edging on a size 2.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not, I mean, now I look back and I'm like, "Hey."
You're
But
like,
yeah, no. But now I'm up to 180 again. I've ranged from 180 to 190. But I would like to get down and stay around like 175 to 180. But yeah, I mean, that it was a weight loss that I didn't need. And it was solely just that I just had a lot going on in my personal life, and there was just a
yeah.
lot going on. So, you go through those phases too, where you're like, I think I'm a little too thin. I
Mhm.
need to gain some weight back. And then that's always strange because you're like, but goes against everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I spent my whole life trying to not gain weight, and now like my goal is to gain weight. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. But now I've just made a point to gain weight through muscle versus eating unhealthy or, anything like that. But a lot of it too was me adjusting. My body was adjusting back after having surgery and then having a pregnancy. So it was harder for me to eat. Plus it's hospital food. It was during COVID, so I couldn't leave the hospital and I had to stay there. And they didn't have very many options besides like grilled chicken and steamed veggies for like, my diet. I ordered off like the diabetic menu.
Right.
So even then I was still making it a point that I had to make healthy choices and drinking my protein shakes. And I was walking the halls in the labor and delivery area when I could, and just trying to continue to keep moving. So I never really lost track of my goal. And I was very proud that once I had the baby, I didn't gain any weight back. That's when I had gained a lot of weight prior. After I had my son, I went through postpartum. I'm just prone to postpartum depression. I knew that it was going to come. And that's something that I had dealt with prior. So I knew I was ready for it this time. And I got help right away and was able to, manage it better than the first time.
Well, and that's so hard too because when you have the surgery, like your body goes through trauma and it affects you emotionally and mentally. And that's why it's so common that people end up having some form of a mental health issue as a result. It's not that because that the surgery causes mental health. It's just it's a transformation of who you used to be and who you're becoming. Now, on top of that, your hormones go out of whack just with the surgery alone. So your hormones are going out of whack. Now you're getting pregnant, which is going to whack all those hormones a little bit more, like whack-a-mole, like just beating all your hormones down.
Yeah.
Then, as if that wasn't enough, you're basically going to be delivering a baby in the height of an uncertain pandemic, not knowing what it's going to be like tomorrow. And we all witnessed how much people were affected by the effects of the pandemic with their mental health, with their struggles, with their demons. And you had all, so it's not surprising that you had issues with it. But why don't you kind of give us an idea on what worked for you to kind of get yourself out of the slump? Because so many people in 2020
Yeah.
were at these new lows that they didn't know possible. They were turning to old vices. We
Yeah.
now refer to the weight gain as, well, I don't know about other people. I do. Like the COVID-15, like everybody started gaining weight, and this depression was just spreading on this outward crazy scale. So what worked for you to be like, nope, I'm not going to be like everyone else or a statistic. I'm going to rise above this.
Yeah, I was very conscious of, so I have battled anxiety and depression as long as I can remember, right? Since I've never really been open about it since after I had weight loss surgery and really like telling my story and through my blogs and things like that. But so I've always had, I mean, even in my early 20s, I battled anxiety, panic attacks, depression, things like that. Having kids, though, it brings that postpartum out. And I just was prepared for it this time.
Right.
So, I mean, for me, what I did was I proactively had talked to my OB and said, hey, this is something that was really serious last time that I need to be aware of. I need you to be aware of it. If and she said, hey, it's not an issue. They see it all the time. Right. And so if it is something that happens, you need to just call me and let me know. And then we will take care of it from there. And I'll, send you something. I also did start therapy soon after I was released from the NICU and, was able to come home. And that really helps just on a personal level to work through some of the things that I was experiencing. But I also had to realize, and this is something I talk about avidly in some of my groups and my blogs and just in conversation I know we've had, is that mental health for anybody is extremely important, right? Like I can't stress that enough. But for overweight people that have been overweight their entire life, and they go through the process of making a decision to have weight loss surgery,
Right.
you have got to be in a mental place where this is the last straw. And as you know, you've been there, I've been there, is like, this is it. This is like, I have to do this to stay alive, right? Like that was the place I was at. And there wasn't anything that was going to just stay in my way of that. I just made it very clear to myself. And that whatever demons I had to face mental health wise, that's what I was going to do. And, I had to just really give myself time to heal from personal things that had happened in my past and that were happening then. And what I've realized as well is that anybody that has been morbidly obese for their entire life, like I was, I think you were as well, that is a mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
There is mental health wrong. That's a mental health alert, right? That you are either like there's some emotional or mental things that are happening. Maybe you don't feel like you're good enough to, or you don't have like what it takes to make those changes, whatever it is, right? And some of the things we can control and some we can't. PCOS, you can't control, right? Like those things you can't control, and that's okay. But help.
Yeah, and what's so crazy is I've noticed this underlining theme with women who've had this surgery. A very high percentage of them all had PCOS.
Yes. Yep.
Because we know that it can prevent weight gain, it prevents, hormone levels, it prevents it's just fascinating. Like the more research that they're doing on it and the more that you talk to other people, that plays a huge role
Yeah.
in not being able to get the weight off.
Well, and it causes that when you have that yo-yo effect of
Mm-hmm.
losing, gaining, that impacts your mental health.
Right.
Not only your physical health, but your mental health, right? And I'm not talking about like there's a difference between like people that grew up skinny, gained weight because of pregnancy or life or anything like that. Like that also has impacts on your mental health. But I'm talking about like people that have been morbidly obese their entire life and have done everything they can from, I mean, I remember in 5th grade, I was on Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Herbalife drops at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That is a lot to
Yeah.
absorb. Think about your 10-year-old obsessed with losing weight. I
Yep.
battled eating disorders. I was bulimic for over 10 years. Like that never goes away. And that is also a mental health issue. And a lot of it is brought on by, different triggers in life, but there is a huge correlation for weight gain, weight loss, and mental health. I don't have any of the doctorate degrees to tell you that, but I have a lot of the firsthand knowledge.
Real.
So
And it's so true. Like I talked about in the book, they put me on a medication, fen-phen. That was the big drug in the 90s. I was 13
I've
years
been there,
old.
done that too. Yep.
Yeah, and then like all the news reports come out, and you're like, oh, you're 13 now, getting EKGs and special blood work to make sure that you didn't just cause massive damage.
Yep.
And like I feel like people sometimes misconstrue mental health with just like a cry fest or like, oh, they have anxiety. No, mental health encompasses so many different variables, one of which is the stigma that comes with obesity, especially at a young age where kids don't have a filter and are overly judgmental, and you make fun of other people, and um, that alone can causes a lot of self-doubt. You become a lot more insecure,
Yep.
which is why it's so common for people who are obese for a long time are always known as the people pleasers. They're the ones in their circles who bend over backwards, go above and beyond for someone else because they genuinely believe that's all they're good for. And if
Yep.
I don't give, then they're not going to want to be my friend anymore, or they're not going to want to love me. And there is a huge power shift that happens when you have this surgery and you start losing the weight. And it's not that the weight loss changes you, it's that you're becoming more active, which then makes you feel more confident, which now you're wearing different clothes, which makes you feel beautiful and stronger. And you start to kind of look around and be like, no, I don't want to be why is nobody giving back? Why am I the ones giving? And that can cause issues in relationships, whether it's friendship, family, your partners, is because you're starting to put yourself more on a pedestal or give yourself more value. And so when those relationships now end, that causes another level of mental health. Or the people who all of a sudden come out of the woodwork after 20 years and be like, hey, saw you on Facebook, you look good, let's hang out. F you, mother smurfer, because you didn't give two shits about me. Like, you didn't even know who I was. Now all of a sudden, like, I'm not jarring to you so we can have a cup of coffee. No, smurf you, like, no. But that creates all new levels of anxiety too, because how do you deal with that? And it messes with you. I remember when I had this, because I think you had to have the psychology appointment beforehand.
Yep. The psych event.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they had more than one appointment for people. I think we're just not always fully
I,
mentally ready. My appointment was less than an hour, and I remember the guy was asking me like what my concern was, and the first thing that popped out of my head was, "What if I become a bitch?" It literally just blurted out of me, and
it didn't matter.
and the psychologist is like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, I would have been. I'd be like,
And I was like, that's genuinely, I don't know why that's a big fear. And he goes, why would you think about that? And I
Right.
was like, but I grew up in a world where people who were, I'm from LA. A lot of people are assholes and they're fake and they're judgmental. And if you look a certain way, but there's a lot of conceited people. And I feel like sometimes when you have that ugly duckling syndrome and you used to be overweight and now you're the swan and you feel good, I was afraid that I was gonna become like this bee and be a different person. And he's like, well, are you a bitch now? And I was like, no. And he goes, then what are you worried about? I'm like, this is genuinely a concern. And he goes, I'm gonna guess that you have people in your life that would tell you
If
not to
you were,
F off,
yeah,
like your ass.
yeah,
And I'm like, well, yeah, but for me, because there was such, just like there's a stigma with obesity, and we're lazy, we're disgusting, we don't try, we choose to be obese because that's what we want to live our lives by. There's also these stigmas with people who are socially tens or whatever. They get a lot more freebies, they are treated differently, it gets to their head. And I was like, I never thought I was going to be like a Tiffany Amber Thiessen, who is my goddess, by the way. But I was worried. I'm sorry, I didn't make you joke. But like, I was genuinely worried. Like, that was a mental health issue, is that, am I going to change? So
yeah.
I struggled with that.
Huh. I would have never thought that. I mean, you know, hey, I was not worried about that. I'll tell you that. I was not worried about that.
But you know what? Like, I'm very bubbly when I know people and stuff, but I have been told I have a really mean RBF face.
Oh yeah, me too.
So I don't ever want it to be misconstrued as something negative, but
Yeah, I don't care. I'm like, you get what you get.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
I definitely, I was just, I did not think about that. Although I'm real feisty, so I've always been real
yeah.
feisty, and you know, I would actually probably say that I've calmed down my personality. So my personality did used to be like very bubbly and like over the top. And my family has said, like, you okay? Like, you're just real quiet. And I'm like,
Oh.
I don't have anything to say.
Is it that or is it maybe like on the subconscious level that you're not trying to be overly like pleasing to gain acceptance, to be noticed, because
Yeah,
you're
I mean, that is true, right? Like, I was a people pleaser.
Mhm.
And as I went through this process, I realized, like, no, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
you don't, like, to me, I would put people's needs and wants ahead of my own.
Mhm.
And now and through life, I just realized, like, no, I'm not, my needs are worth it. My needs need to be met. And if I can meet my needs before yours, now, I mean, there's always like different scenarios, but for the most part, my needs were not being met as a human being from
Right.
myself, not anybody else's fault, from me. They
Mhm.
were not being met because I was so busy fulfilling everybody else's needs, being everything for everybody else. And it wasn't their fault, it was mine.
Right, because you're
I
choosing
didn't
to
set
do it.
that boundary. I was choosing to put their needs over mine. I was choosing that. And I've just that switch flipped for me, where I was like, because I've been very successful in my life. I've been, in my corporate life and my personal life. Like, the only thing I couldn't do was lose weight.
Mhm.
And literally, I was like, this is the last hoorah. Like, this is my last mountain to climb, and I'm gonna do it. And it's brought a level of, I'm okay being alone. I'm okay being by myself. I'm okay, like, not speaking to a soul all day long. Like, I'm okay with that. I'm not lonely. I'm not, like, if I could work out all day and be like, continue in my fitness company, like, that would be heaven.
Oh,
If I
100%.
could live in the gym and live, like, just, that would be it. I would be satisfied, and that would be something so great. And one day that's my goal, but I mean, it would be amazing, but I don't care what anybody else thinks anymore. And I think I was just like, I got to a point, even when I was overweight, I didn't care, but you do care. Like, you're like, oh, I don't care, but you do.
Yeah.
Or if somebody says something about your weight. Now I get offended if someone is like, "Oh, you're too thin. You look like a skeleton," and I'm like, "Hey, you know what? F off. Okay? I've worked hard for this. I don't
Right.
care what you think. If you think I'm too thin, if you still think I'm chubby, like whatever, I don't care. Like just keep your mouth shut and keep moving."
No,
But
yeah.
it's kind of like you just have to it does. It changes you though, even though you're like, "Oh, I'm not going to change." I don't think it's just made me be okay with who I am and love myself even more.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I was the same way. I was one of those people. I would bend over backwards if there was ever something that happened in the family. Sherry's the one that will take care of it. She will do all the grunt work. I make all the phone calls. I'm like, and like there was like that famous, analogy that you're so used to pouring your glass into everyone else's cups, but when your glass is empty, you have nothing left to pour, and you're literally running on empty.
Yeah,
And
these folks around you aren't filling your cup up.
yeah,
They're
no
just
one's filling, no one's
telling
filling
everybody
my cup.
else to fill it
You know,
up.
take,
Yeah,
take, take. And it got to the point where finally, when I had that nervous breakdown, it was because I literally pushed myself for everyone else. That my body's like, "F you, you're
yeah,
going down for a while." My husband told everybody, "Do not message Sherry, do not text her, do not call her. Like she need." And that was a huge wake up call. Like we are not invincible. Like you
yeah,
can't constantly be a people pleaser if you're not. And so maybe I've kind of gone a little overboard into the opposite direction. But my first priority every day is, am I good? Am I in a good place?
yep,
If people need advice or people need to talk or they need help with something, am I mentally able to tackle this today? Because if not, I'm not going to run on empty anymore. I've already been there, not doing it again. And then there's still an element of guilt, like you feel guilty that you're being selfish. But I'm now encouraging other people, you need to be selfish, because if you're not at the top of your game, you are no good to anyone else.
yeah. I don't feel like I'm being selfish. I would like I see exactly what you're saying. I can't relate to that piece of it because to me, I'm like, you know what? I have given to so many people that didn't deserve it.
Yeah,
And I've loved so many people that I love them the way I wanted to be loved.
right.
Now, that doesn't mean I love them in the right way for them. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not perfect at that. But I'm going to love me from this point forward in the way I need to be loved from myself. And if
Right.
that interrupts how they want to be loved, they're not for me.
I know. And like, I agree 100% with you.
Yep.
And we're all human. I still struggle with it.
Oh,
How,
yeah. Yep.
however, I'm Italian, and when you're born, you are born with this deep rooted, centuries long thing called Italian guilt that I feel like is just never gonna fully go away. So I don't feel as bad when I say no to people,
Yeah.
but there's always gonna be this element of like, should I have done? No, but I'm sticking to my ground, and I'm still learning. Like I'm not perfect. It's
Now,
definitely hard.
yeah, I would say the one thing I learned and I learned how to do this was really set boundaries.
Yeah,
I have a lot of boundaries that I never used to have before. And it's just something that I had to figure out what the boundaries were for me, what made me feel comfortable, what shows me when people respect me in my family, friends, any of that. And I don't deviate from that because that's what I need in my life to make sure I'm good, to make
right,
sure, like you said, like I have every morning, I have things that I do. And no matter what happens, no matter where I'm at, I'm going to do those things in the morning that, and I might be a little OCD, but that really, they calm my anxiety. They help me stay focused on the things that I want to focus on for the day. And, one of my friends, he actually told me that that's what he does. Right. And I'm like, well, tell me more. Right. Like, what is that? What's that about? And he's just like, I don't even look at my phone until I want to. I'm not going to like just roll over and look at my phone and just be on social media and be bothered with everybody else's drama. Like, I'm going to make sure that when I wake up, I get my workout in. I'm good. I do my devotions. I do whatever it is you do in the morning, your ritual, take a shower, eat. but
Yeah.
have that moment of peace to yourself where you're not on social media. I wake up an hour to two before my kids do just to have time for
Oh,
myself.
ugh.
Yeah, I'm up at like 5 a.m.
No.
with workout, or either I work out or I just have that. I wake up to have alone time.
Yeah.
But that's what I need. I have to have that time to just get mentally prepared for my day and what comes with it. And if I don't do that, I just don't feel right. And so if anybody comes to interrupt that ritual, we're going to fight. We're not having that.
Yeah.
So
No, I love that. So I know that we're before I know it, we're gonna completely run out of time again.
we are. We
But
always
I know we always do. But one thing I want to make sure that we bring up is I want you to talk a little bit about Teagle Tough, how it came to be, and
yeah.
what's going on now.
Yeah, so I started a fitness company in January of 2022 called Teagle Tough Fitness. And what I do is I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted to help other people that have been in the situation, whether you've had weight loss surgery or not, doesn't matter to me. Um, my company basically it offers 3 memberships. We have free and fabulous, deluxe, deliciously deluxe, and the MVP. And so with each of those, you get different services. The MVP is you get like one-on-one time with me for me to customize and build things directly for you and your journey and your body and all those things. And so the other thing is on the website, I have apparel, which you can see like I have a hat and t-shirt on. We have apparel there, but also I blog through my journey of different things like my struggles through iron deficiency and my struggles through eating disorders and body dysmorphia, food addiction, um, pregnancy before and after weight loss surgery. My bio is in there, like just different things that I know other people that have been on any weight loss journey can relate to, or maybe they don't think about those things and they need to go get their iron checked, or they're experiencing some of those things and they're like, man, maybe I should go do that. And just different, bucket list adventures. And my TikTok is at Teagle Tough. Instagram is at Teagle Tough. And the TikToks I share, obviously funny content, but also recipes. Like yesterday, I shared like my family and I made protein ice cream and just different ways to fit in tips and tricks to fit in
Yeah.
that protein, different things like that. And then we also have a Facebook group. But it really started because I want to help other people. I know how it was to feel alone, have no support, no encouragement. And then through your journey, if you've had weight loss surgery or not, you feel misunderstood. You
Mm-hmm.
feel like alone, like nobody else has to deal with this, or all of those things that come with it. And you don't have to be alone. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to go on podcasts and talk about it, but
Right.
you don't have to hide. And you can come to a place that's safe that, I have never seen one. I had one lady say, yeah, I've tried those Facebook groups before, but there was always like Karens talking about other people's food choices and things like that. And that has never happened in my group. I will not allow it to happen, but our group is generally everybody is there. We have vegans in the group, we have vegetarians, we have people that have not had weight loss surgery, we have people that have had weight loss surgery. It's the most unjudgmental group I have ever experienced in us just helping, like workout ideas and things like that. But definitely come check it out. It's just been an amazing journey, and I want to help as many people as I can. And eventually, one day, like this is what I want to do. I want to just be helping as many people as I can on Earth while I'm here to make sure that their journey is they're feeling support during their journey, because
Yeah.
I know the road can be lonely. So
100%. And I wish that they had all of this stuff when I had the surgery. There was one or two people that I could talk to that had been further out by the time I did, but there wasn't Facebook groups out there. There wasn't a ton of blogs or YouTube videos. There definitely wasn't any podcasts or shows like listen to people's stories. So you really do feel that you're all alone. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I started doing what I was doing. is I want to give more people a voice, and I want to we talk about everyone's before and after picture. You put them on these, Facebook sites, and everyone's like, oh my God, let me go run out and get that surgery right now. And I was like, there's so much story that happens between
Oh
those
yeah.
pictures. You can be as mentally prepared as you want. Same thing, like if you got pregnant for the first time, you've heard all these stories for so many years, but until you're in the trenches yourself, that's really when you're going to find what makes or breaks you and what you can tolerate and not. And this is just like with your sleeve or your bypass, these elements, these Facebook groups and shows are just tools to
Yep.
help you further along, because the surgery is just a starting point. The
Yep.
day you walk out of that hospital, kind of like when you're a first time mom, you walk out of that hospital with this newborn, there's no pamphlet that they give you on what to do. You just kind of got to figure it out on your own. But
Yep.
just like in the mom community, there's so many other moms that, my kid has a rash. I've never seen this color before. Is my kid dying? You're like, no, it's normal. So there's all these support groups now for the bariatric community. I do agree that a lot of the bigger groups right now are filled with a lot of hateful people, a
Yeah.
lot of jealousy, a lot of food police. Like, God forbid somebody like had a sip of Coke because they couldn't resist the temptation. Like, oh, you're damned to hell. Like,
Yep.
that's why I love groups like yours and other ones that are not as, they don't allow that kind of stuff. Like,
Yep.
they're moderated a lot better, so you're genuinely getting the support you want. And
Yep.
one of the things that I loved about you from the beginning, and we just connected, is there's no sense of competition. You
No.
know, like
Yeah.
like you and I both have blogs, we both have stories, we both have apparel lines and stuff like that. But we're out to support each other, because at the end of the day, people are gonna look at me and be like, "Oh, that bee is crazy." I don't care though, so I want to check out her stuff, and so
Or
I
vice versa.
or no, I'm not going to say vice versa. I'm fully aware that I'm crazy. But there's people who are just going to relate better to other people.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to spend your time trying to knock other people down or deter from other people, just say, hey, here's some other options. So in this video, if you're watching this later, if you're not watching it live, I'm going to put her website on there. We're going to put her TikTok on there and her Instagram. Her videos are really funny. Like, I actually really enjoy them. I'm still learning the whole TikTok world. I don't know how to be very creative. I do a lot of videos on my walks, and then I play some cool music and then have fun with it. But like, you like put a lot of effort into it. And like, a time, like, you think of all these great things, and I'm like, how does she just come up with that? Like, I'm just
I try. I'm not like the biggest social media influencer, but I just like to have fun. And to me, that's what it's about. Like, I mean, I'm going to bring educational content, but for the most part, like, I like to have fun. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. And I don't want to be like putting out, I'm not going to put out content just to get views and like just
right.
fake crap, like I want stuff of substance, and I show my personality a lot through all that. But yeah, I just think it's, I've learned so much about myself, and if I can just pass that on to one person, I've done an amazing job, because it's to just bring somebody to the realization that I've had and the
Mhm.
changes I've seen in myself. And just, I know what weight loss can do for somebody,
Right.
whether you've had surgery or not. I have friends that have lost over 100 pounds that have never had surgery, and we support each other, and we help and motivate, support and encourage and motivate each other. And it doesn't matter to me. I don't care if I'm only not going to only work with you if you've had weight loss surgery, or if you haven't, or,
Right.
and I think that's part of the, the community that I'm trying to build right now, is like, doesn't matter. We don't judge. Like, if you post something that's like, hey, I had a slip up or whatever, like, hey, well, what are we going to do next time to avoid that? Or what, hey, you know what? It happens. Here's a healthier option next time.
Yeah.
It happens. It's reality for anybody, whether people admit it or not on Facebook or whatever crap that they post. Like, social media is not everybody's reality.
No.
So,
It's the reality that you want people to think is your reality.
right. like, the food police didn't get overweight and in those groups because they were doing everything correctly.
Right.
So,
Right.
to each their own, though. If you want to be a Karen, woo, go get it. Just stay away from me.
Yeah.
But, there's just some groups that I've left because I'm like, dude, I don't even want that in my energy.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be a part of the energy. And I reach out to those people and I just say, hey, you know what? You got this. It's like whatever you're going through right now. Let's find a healthier option.
Right.
And most of them are like, I'm coming to join your group.
Which
But
is should be, because it's like
yeah,
genuine support. And I think that's a really good way to, kind of close out the episode today is you got this. If
yep,
you
you got
watch
it.
this right now, you got this. There are now groups and supports and people who are not full of judgment that are genuinely trying to help you. Sarah is one of them. And we are so blessed to have had her on today. Is there anything last minute you want to say before we close out today?
No, I would say thank you for having me. But yeah, let's do it. You got this. Stay positive, and either of us are here to help you. So come join us. Oh, we are going to be doing a TikTok live on Friday.
Yes.
Sherry and I. We
Yes.
haven't figured out how this works yet, so
You know how to do it.
we're going to figure it out in the moment.
Right.
And then we're going to try to just have a good time. We're not any topics specifically, but we're going to be there to answer any questions you have or just talk to us. But just, give us a few minutes if we look weird on a live because we're figuring out what we're doing.
You know how to do it. I knew I'm learning. I can't initiate a live myself unless you follow me at TikTok right here. Here's my name. You can follow me at TikTok. I need to get to 1,000 followers. You have over 1,000 followers. So I think there's a way that you and I can, join forces together on Friday. So we're going to figure it out and we'll make sure that we put it out there and give you guys a heads up before we do it. If anybody has questions for Sarah after the show, you can reach out to her directly. I'm going to put her information on the show later. You can also email me questions that you have because we're just going to have Sarah come back again and talk about more stuff and see what she's up to. And I think on that note, thank you guys so much for watching and we'll see you next week.
Bye.